There's a bunch of stuff I want to chat about today, but the first thing I want to chat about is some Facebook ad stuff. Well, it's not just Facebook ads, but just Facebook in general. And I want to chat about two different things when it comes to this. The first is, a while ago on Twitter, I sort of asked people, I was like, hey, are you guys running separate retargeting campaigns, or do you have like prospecting and retargeting all in one? And everyone was like, look, we have them all in one these days. The way of having separate retargeting campaigns and separate prospecting campaigns is basically the way that you did it, and you're really old. So, stop thinking that you know what to do any longer. And then I started asking people, and I was like, Facebook has a limit of 8 ASC campaigns on any given in any given country. So if you're running ads to Canada, you can have 8 ASC campaigns. If you're running ads to Brazil, you can have 8 ASC campaigns in Brazil and 8 in Canada and 8 in the United States. And the 8 in the United States was a little bit perplexing to me because I was always, first, I'm not sure why there's a limit of 8 ASC campaigns in the United States. And then I don't understand how people are running Facebook ads. And I want to get your opinion on this, which is, are you putting do most people or do the brands that you work with have separate testing campaigns and like scaling campaigns, or do they have a single, or do they have like many, I guess, let me ask that first. Do they have separate testing and scaling campaigns, or do they like, they do? Okay. And tell me how what the strategy looks like there. Is it like, hey, look, we're going to test this, and if it works, we're going to pull it out. We're going to pull this out and put it into the scaling campaign?
Exactly. So I believe we get tested in one campaign, much lower budget. And then once we start to see the results of that, the click-through rate, the CAC, the ROAS, then depending on that, we'll move it into a bigger scaled campaign. It's not actually too different than like the way we used to do it 7 years ago. The difference being that at that time you would break out prospecting, retargeting, remarketing, whereas here I think the first two still stay together. And I could be wrong here because I'm not actually in the accounts today, but I believe remarketing or marketing to existing customers is still separate.
So let me ask this: in the testing campaign, there's one testing campaign, and let's say it's $1,000 budget. Any given time, you've got 10 ads there. If you see one ad performing really well, you pull it out and you put it into the scaling campaign. And the scaling campaign already has, let's say, 10 of your best ads, 20 of your best ads. And this campaign that you just pulled out competes against those 20 for budget. Is that how it works?
Correct.
Okay. That's really interesting. And then what happens when you pull it out and put it in the scaling campaign? And do you reset all the comments and likes and the social proof, or
no?
Do you just pull out the ID and put it in there?
Pull out the ID.
Okay. I still don't trust Facebook well enough to be like, look, this is working really well in the testing campaign. Let me put in a scaling campaign and compete for budget. It actually, what I don't trust is the competing for budget. Yeah. And so what I found in some accounts that I've gone through is basically they're already maxed out at 8 ASC campaigns. And those 8 only have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 different ads in them. And they're all spending a ton of money on like one creative. But if you put all those creatives into a single campaign, and let's say each campaign is spending $100, that's a bad example. Each campaign is spending $1,000, and there's 8 of them. You're better served doing that than putting them all into one single campaign and spending $8,000 a day. And that's because you can do a better job adjusting what creative should be getting in budget and what shouldn't. But I wonder if this, am I wrong about that? Is this an old school way of thinking? Because it sounds like the news, I talked to Cody once a long time ago, Jones Road Beauty, and he's like, I have 1 ASC campaign. I can't imagine anyone having 8.
Yeah, I think that's right. The way Cody's doing it is right. I believe that's how we do it as well. Is the goal is to just consolidate as much as possible. And I do think the biggest thing that's probably changed from when we were running ads, 5-6 years ago to today is the algorithm of deciding what creative serves who. Like I think before, your best creative would spend based on efficiencies of that creative. But I think with ASC, knowing that it was an evolution of the DABA, the dynamic audience, dynamic ads broad audience, the evolution is that I think each creative will basically go out and try to find different audiences that are working for that specific creative. So rather than the ad set just choosing a couple of creatives, it'll try to find pockets of audiences that match that creative and then go against them. So I think that's Yeah, I think that's the difference.
So, okay. I still have trouble believing that, like, a long time ago when we were running ads 5, 7 years ago, what I always did is I'd say one campaign can have 100 ad sets or 10 ad sets, whatever you want, doesn't really matter. But every ad set can only have one ad. And the reason that I set up one ad set, one ad was because I was always like, look, if I put in many creatives into one single ad, Facebook actually doesn't serve the budget well. Like, let's say I have $1,000 budget in that ad set and 10 creatives. The creative that's working may not be getting the most spend. It might actually be getting the least spend. And so I'd have to be like, this doesn't make any sense. I need to manage creative spend individually. And in order to do that, I have to create one ad set, one ad. And, I wonder if the new way of doing it is, one campaign, it's sort of like now the campaign or ad set level, I guess, and like many creatives, or if it's still best managed one creative, one ad, so you can manage the spend behind each ad. It's very hard to like A/B test that kind of stuff, I think. But I might be wrong. And like that, if that is a change, it's a fundamental shift in the way that Facebook operates. And I still see I see businesses doing it both ways, the way Cody did it and the way that I did it 7 years ago. And I'm curious to see if old school advertisers that were doing this, have been doing this for 5 or 10 years, are still doing it our way, and new guys are doing it Cody's way. I still don't know what the right answer is, but I wanted to get your feedback on it. But you're saying one campaign for scaling, one campaign for testing.
I believe that's how we do it, but what I'll do is I'll check with our team, and for the next episode, I'll have an answer for you.
Okay, that sounds great.